generations. And now, the power of two restores the one.
We got a bidet. Hey everybody, and welcome back for another video. We are talking about the latest horror movie this week, which is Smile 2. We're going to go ahead and give you some of our non-spoiler opinions first, give the movie a rating, and then we will go on and talk about what happened in the movie. So I will say we've seen Smile 1. It's been a while, I think, for Sarah, but I decided to watch it. I stayed up late night the day before that we went to go see the second one and rewatched the first one. And watching the first one, it was a very good movie. I was pleasantly surprised to be reminded of how good it was, if that makes sense. Just because there's a lot of tension, there's a lot of creepy imagery to it. There's some creepy, I would say, working of the camera going on, and so there was a lot of things that was going for the first one that made me excited for going to see the second one. Now, what can I say about the second one in relation to the first one? I think they used a lot of uh they tried to use a lot of the same camera work that worked very well for the first one, but I will say it didn't, in my opinion, it didn't work necessarily as well in the second one. I will also say there's other elements in the movie that we picked up on that were from the first movie that we also feel like, well, did we really need that in the second one? Or um, essentially, could they have gone maybe a more unique or creative way than trying to echo to what was really good in the past? Um, I would say the movie was okay. They really went for they tried to go big, right? Bigger than the first movie because the first movie centers around a character and in she works in, I think, social work, or she's a psychiatrist. I don't remember exactly what her job title is, but she's working with people and she has her own traumas. And so it's kind of a very small movie in relation to what this is, where, it's just kind of her and her family. Whereas this is about a celebrity and what's going on in this, big, big world that she's living in. So I do think that they tried to make the movie bigger. I think they tried to make it better with that, but I also think that I don't think it quite paid off for me in relation to the first one. I will say though, the main actress Sky Riley, I feel like she acted her butt off on this one because they really, really asked for a lot of emotion out of her in this movie. So, if anything, I thought she did an amazing job. But what did you think, Sarah?
Yeah, she did great. They just the amount of emotions she had to portray throughout the film for long periods of time. There were several times where I'm like, wow, the camera's really holding on her for a long time and not cutting to another angle. So, she's having to act through whatever that scene is in like one take, or maybe they did multiple takes. But my point is they didn't jumble up a bunch of miscellaneous takes. It's she did really good for an entire take, and they did that repeatedly. So I thought that was pretty cool that she did such a great job. But the movie as a whole, I thought was okay. We jumble a lot between what's in her mind as she's going kind of crazy from the smile virus to what's in real life. And I feel like there's a lot that's blurred where we don't really know what's what. Um,
At least until towards the very end of the movie.
yeah, and I'm trying to be careful on not saying too much, but it kind of almost makes it like a throwaway dream or like a throwaway movie. Like those movies that end with, oh, it was all a dream, and not that that's always bad, because like I get that The Wizard of Oz, that movie is essentially all a dream, but that was still a really great film, just because of the power of imagination. I'm trying not to get too far off topic, but I didn't have enough of reality to hold on to make me interested in what's going on, because I couldn't tell if this is even real, should I care or not. Um, I think that's probably about the extent that I want to talk about it in the non-spoilers, but do you want to roll into ratings, or was there anything else that you wanted to mention?
I guess some of the things I also wanted to touch on, people may be wondering, does it pick up essentially with where the first one left off? And the answer is yes. They do address some of the stuff that happened in the first movie here. It's very, very quick. It almost seems like the way that they handle that transition is we know that this is what happened in the first movie, and we're gonna quickly shift over to what we're gonna do in the second movie. And so there's a very quick transition. It does connect the two movies, so that's kind of a nice little thing there. Um,
I almost feel like we could have cut that scene entirely, like the whole first 10 minutes, and it would have been just the same and good of a movie as it is already, or the same level, I should say.
I would say yes and no. I mean, the only reason why I'd say no is because then we wouldn't there's a certain character in the movie that has the smile virus that really kicks the movie off. We wouldn't know how he got it, and that little segment told us how he got it. So I kind of like that that scene was in there. It was the way that the scene or what was happening in the scene was tense, so it kind of got us almost on the edge of our seat a little bit already. Not in the sense of the smile thing that's going on, but um, I think it was a decent start to the movie. Um, would you say that because it was me, Sarah, and Sarah's mom, my mother-in-law, that went and saw the movie. And there was something that my mother-in-law said that I thought was interesting, and she had mentioned that she really did not care about the character the entire time, like they were not likable. What did you think about that?
Hmm. Um, I mean, she seems a little bratty because she's so spoiled because she has that high life, but at the same time, she's really just kind of advocating for her rights because of the hidden monsters that she can see that nobody else can. I don't know that I really got that vibe of not liking her. It's more so the other side characters that we didn't know if were real or not, that like I didn't care about their actions because I didn't know if it actually affected real life or not. That's what I thought was more annoying than the actual main character.
Gotcha.
But
There,
there was, you do remind me of one thing though that I thought was really weird that the main character did, and a this isn't something bad on the actress. This is completely the writing, I think, because they made a point of why she's doing it. She chugs a lot of water over and over and over and over, and you keep thinking, is it going to be poisoned? Is there going to be glass in it? Is there going to be, bleach one of these times or something bad? And it never goes anywhere. And it's I don't know. It's a weird focus point.
from what
So I thought
I
that was really strange.
So I listened to a couple of talks about the movie, and it was brought up that the reason why she's drinking all this water is because her psychiatrist or whoever mentioned if you're like getting a panic attack or if you're, starting to feel anxious about whatever, then essentially down a glass of water to neutralize yourself and reground yourself. And I mean, I get it that that's an explanation for it, but at the same time, I feel like what you're saying should have been more of what was where they were heading. Like there should have been eventually this whoopsie that happens with the water. It's not a spoiler, so I'll go ahead and say it here. There is one small thing with the water. There's a scene where she is apparently alone in her home, and the water falls off the counter and breaks. Now, that's kind of a small connection. That's kind of like when I was saying, there's these small things that are similar to what's happening in the first film, because in the first film, there is a shot where our main character is holding a glass of water and she sees something and uh, she thinks that she sees something off in the distance. She's focusing on it. And then her husband comes in the room and she drops the glass because she's startled. And so we kind of get a small callback with the glass breaking on the ground, but who knows? Maybe that was even unintentional for them to do just based on what happens later with that um, glass of water. Or maybe that adds a layer to what happened in the first movie. I have no idea. But one other thing I was gonna mention is I kind of felt like the movie was a little long. Did you kind of feel that it was a little long? It's over 2 hours, I can tell you that.
Yeah, I mean that kind of ties in with what I said earlier about how like that first scene I feel like could have been cut, and I feel like there's several other scenes we could have cut to shorten things up a bit. Um, I didn't really get the feeling that we were building up to some sort of grand finale. It just seemed pretty mid-level the whole way through.
And then once we got to the end, it was kind of like, oh, it's kind of like you're trying to blow up a balloon, and then right when you think you're about to be done blowing it up, the air just slips out, kind of a thing. All right, let's get into some ratings. So for me, a couple of things with how my rating's gonna go. I'm gonna give it a 5 out of 10, but here's where I'm coming at from it. I think if you watch the first movie and you go into this movie, I think you're going to be very disappointed. Just because the things that worked really well, in my opinion, in the first movie, I feel like they completely deserted those and centered the movie more around her issue with drugs and the celebrity life. The celebrity life I can imagine is, very, very unnerving and scary as it is at times. Like they even depict in this movie that there's a fan that is a little over the top and, scares her in a way. It wasn't necessarily a smile thing, but I could see that happening in everyday celebrity life. So there's a lot of things that happen that are bothersome to her in her real life, and sometimes it's kind of hard to discern, is this, more of a focus on what she's traumatized from her career, or is it from the smile thing? Like Sarah was saying, it's kind of hard to read through those blurred lines at times. But I also feel like if they were trying to do something different and that this is the angle that they were actually trying to go for, I could see why audiences are really liking it just because it's a different take on what happened in the first movie. But for me, I was hoping for taking the first movie and expanding on what made it really, really great, not necessarily taking what happened in the first movie and seeing what different angle we could come from on it. And so that's why I'm kind of at a 5. It's not a great movie in my opinion. It's not, in my opinion, a below average movie. I think it's kind of right in the middle. So that's where I'm at.
I'm gonna take it one step down. I'm at a 4 for this one. I do think it's below average. Um, the real versus not real really kind of drove me crazy for this film, and I get that that's part of the sickness of the smile virus. But I think there needs to be some sort of a line drawn for what the audience knows versus what the main character knows that I think could have made this a step up or two. Where, if she's seeing something, maybe us as the audience would be able to know if it's actually real or not. I think that would have maybe helped things a little bit. Just to kind of help with that line. And I'm not saying for every single scene, but just to give it some sort of substance of like this is what reality actually is. I think that would have been helpful. Um,
Like maybe they could have used, like, I know this would be different from the first movie, but maybe some sort of uh camera thing going on, like if there was a certain tint or a certain lighting, or I don't know, maybe something that would help us recognize what's real and what's not. But when we get to the spoilers, we're gonna find out that it once you see the movie, you don't really need that, in my opinion. But as a first time viewing, I guess it would have been kind of nice.
Yeah, even just to show from somebody else's viewpoint. Um, I'm gonna save it for the spoilers. But anyway, one of the other things that's more minor, but it still drove me nuts, is the amount of upside down or spinning shots that we got from this. I
That
don't
was
know why the
very
filmmakers like this.
that
Huh?
was very much a thing in the first movie, so I'm just putting that out there.
Yeah, I'm not saying that that's new to this film, but just in general, I can't stand them. It makes me want to look away, and if you're forcing your movie to be in a way that I want to look away, that's not a good thing. So,
It always made me wonder, like thinking about the Smile movie. Like there was a shot where the world was kind of tilted and it moved, and then the world became completely upside down, and then it kept moving, and then it was tilted again. And I kind of feel like the camera work was a smile itself. Um, but there are a lot of them where they're just straight up upside down shots, or they kind of do you know, a spin as they're going into what they're trying to focus on. But yeah, there's a lot of spinning in the transition of scenes, I would say. There wasn't a lot like if you're focusing on the character and things are happening, there was not a lot of spinning. But if it's, going from one place to another, or they're just trying to focus on the building, there was even one part where it seemed like a lot of things were going well for the character, and she was starting to feel this sense of security with what she was doing. But then the camera went out to outside of her, I think it's an apartment or the building, and then the music kicked on and it kind of did the turn and it was upside down again. So there was different ways for seeing that she seems okay, but us as the audience is feeling this things are not okay because of the way that the camera is moving and then the way that the sounds are being portrayed as well. So
let me ask you this too, and this is still not spoiler, but the beginning of our movie started with a message from the main actress, just basically saying, "Thanks for your support, blah, blah, blah." That's the second time we've seen something like this year. Do you think that's going to become more popular, or do you think that's influenced people to maybe
oh,
like the movie more?
so what Sarah is talking about, it's not part of the movie. It's like when the actors or actresses gather around and they talk to the audience saying, I'm really excited to be a part of this project. Thanks for coming out to support it. Enjoy the film, kind of a thing. Um, I don't know. Sometimes it's nice to see that, but for me,
It took me by surprise. I was not expecting that.
I kind of don't like seeing it because yes, I could definitely see a lot of the actors and actresses being genuinely excited to be a part of these projects, but at the same time, they are actors and actresses. Is it always going to be genuine? And so I think the more that it happens, the more that I'm going to be numb to it, where it just kind of feels like they have to do it nowadays. So I don't know. But I did genuinely believe what was her name?
Naomi Scott.
Sky Riley. I genuinely believe that she had a great time with this movie.
Well, her,
Just be
her real name is Naomi Scott.
Oh, yeah, character name is Sky Riley, sorry. Naomi Scott. So I do really think that Naomi really enjoyed this film because, well, one, she got to do a wide variety of emotions, and, I mean, with the amount of screaming that she did in this movie too, it was probably like therapy to do this movie. But she also got to kind of live the life of being a huge pop star. And as far as I know, she's not a recording artist, so it's kind of a cool thing that you get to try differently and, you know, make money doing it and having fun. So I can imagine a lot of the actors and actresses had a lot of fun making this movie just because of the kind of movie that it was.
She was Jasmine in the live action Aladdin. I did not know that.
I didn't know that either. I did not background check her previous films.
Sorry,
Um,
I was just taking a peek. But anyway, so I think we're ready for spoilers.
all right, we're
Uh,
gonna transition to the spoilers,
yep.
and I don't think there's too much that we have to go into super detail about, but um, we're just gonna drop the bombshell here right in the very beginning. The majority of this film is not real. So if you're the kind of person where you go to see these movies and it ends up being mostly a dream sequence and you feel like that's a waste of time, you probably won't like this movie. I didn't even there were so many different things that was happening. I didn't know that that was actually happening until I listened to some people talk about it. Like reflecting on the film, if I were to try to put some pieces together, I feel like I could have figured it out. But yeah, I guess so. The movie does its thing, and about right around the halfway point, there's something that happens to our character, and that's the major shift. And then, like 5 or 10 minutes before the actual end of the film, that's when you get to realize, oh, this whole thing has been a dream. Um,
I feel like we know even before that, but let's just go along the way, right? So she's a pop star, but she had a car accident that she was involved in, that she's still recovering from, where her boyfriend died in the vehicle. So she's got a lot of trauma with that, but also a lot of like physical things that she's healing from. So she's trying to do like a comeback tour since that accident. Like, all right, I'm coming back to the spotlight, I'm coming back for my fans and all that good stuff. But she's got a lot of back pain, and being that she was a drug addict, people don't want to prescribe her anything for it. So of course she's got a drug dealer to hook her up with some Vicodin.
and the drug dealer is the connection to the first movie. So the way that the movie officially opens is that we see the detective dude from the first movie, and he's trying to transfer the smile virus to somebody else. Where if you commit a violent crime, like where you murder somebody drastically in front of somebody else, it'll be transferred to that somebody else. And so he decides to approach some drug dealers, and he, pulls a gun on one of them that went and got coffees or whatever they were for the house, and they walks them in, and the he's gonna his intention is to brutally murder the guy with the coffees that just got home in front of the main drug dealer so that the main drug dealer will get this virus. Now, the problem with this is that when he murders the first guy, um, the the main drug dealer pulls his gun on him, and he has to, the our hero character has to kill the guy to save his own life. And so he's like, crap, I did this thing. It's not gonna work because I killed that guy. And so what he didn't know is that there was somebody else in the room that was trying to buy drugs, and that is our drug dealer for Sky Riley. And so that's the connection there. He witnessed this brutal murder of not one but two people, and so uh, now he kind of has this smile virus going on for him. And then that's where we connect it to Sky Riley. She goes to pick up some drugs from him. He seems very off the wall. Something's not right. He, even when she approaches him from when she walks in the door, he approaches her with a sword as if she might be killed by him just because he doesn't know who's real and who's not. And after talking him down and thinking that he's gonna go get some medications for her, uh, she he doesn't come back. Things go sideways. This is when he picks up a weight from like a is it a bench lift? I forget what that kind of weight is called. Um,
I think so.
but he smashes his face into it, and that's kind of how she is transferred this thing. So now she has the virus, and she's starting to see these random things happening, right? She doesn't quite understand, like all the weird people smiling at her. It's cool how they really try to blend the celebrity life with this. Like I said, she's not 100% sure with what's going on when she's in her house or apartment. I don't know what you want to call it, but she thinks she's seeing things. She thinks she's hearing things. There's like this noise that sounds like someone's guts are being spilled out that happens throughout the movie. I think when she really starts to pick up that things are going crazy is when she's about to like she's trying on a bunch of different costume sets for her show that's supposed to be her tour that's going to be happening soon, and she looks into the mirror and she sees her drug dealer behind her. It's actually the thumbnail picture of this video, and she tries doing one of these where she's swaying back and forth a little bit and she's seeing that it is following her. Like she's not actually able to see the drug dealer's face when she does that. And this is when we get the thing from the trailer where the fingers like pull up on her mouth and make her smile. And I think this is where she really starts to realize, things are not what they seem. So, well, aside from also seeing, random people with these crazy smiles looking at her. Um, but essentially, eventually, she goes through a lot of these motions of being a celebrity, and there is a night where she thinks that someone is in her apartment, and I think they say that they found her blacked out on the floor, is what we're led to believe as the audience. But this is kind of that transition to where I think it's all supposed to be a dream. Is that where it was for you?
I don't know that there's a specific spot where it's all a dream. I would just say the majority of what she's seeing is not real.
Well, I thought that's where it
We
was.
we take
Simply,
it such a step forward of it's not just that she's seeing things, it's that she is imagining people in her life who actually aren't even there. Like elaborate plot schemes. She tries to reconnect with one of her old friends who distanced herself after that car accident because, it was kind of Sky Riley's fault for the accident because of the drugs and everything.
well, there was also some things I guess that Sky Riley said to her that weren't too flattering either.
Right. But so that character's name is Gemma, and she tries to reach out to her and reconnect. And in Sky Riley's mind, Gemma comes over, spends the night. It's like the good old days again, like they're great friends. But we learn at the very end of the film that she never came over. She never rekindled that friendship. She still hates her. And so anything that has to do with Gemma, the entire movie has been fake.
And then not only Gemma, but there's some other characters too. There's a guy that she thinks that she meets that knows a thing or two about the smile virus. She's getting like text messages on her phone saying, were you at such and such as the drug dealer's place when he died? There's another text message that says, uh, you know, essentially what you're experiencing is real and we need to talk about it. And so she meets up with this dude that supposedly knows what's going on. But again, by the time you get to the end of the movie, you find out that even he was fake this whole time. It was all in her head. She was in a coma for quite some time. So, well, for what seems like a short amount of time, I think to her is a long amount of time. See, there was even some time things that were really weird. Like she felt things were only a couple minutes, whereas her friends will be like, "It's been hours. What are you talking about?" And so like there's this very disorienting amount of time that's going by. Um, there's even a scene where they find her and they bring her. I don't know what the place is called, but essentially her family got her together. She's in a hospitality area where she's supposed to be getting taken care of. And I mean this scene was pretty crazy in my opinion. So the mom is trying to talk to her about some things, and she sees the smile. creature virus thing going kind of back and forth on her mom. And so she wants to get the heck out of there. She witnesses her mom like stab herself multiple times and then do like the whole smile thing. And this is one of the parts that Sarah and her mom like turned away from. And I watched it. It's basically she had an IV in her arm and she just wanted to yank that sucker out so she could get away. And when she pulled that, I did not know needles could be that freaking long. It was like 3 or 4 inches that was in there. Like that's a nightmare to me. And so she yanks this thing out, and when she's about to leave and go out the door, she realizes that she's holding the thing that stabbed her mom, like the weapon of choice. I think it was a broken mirror piece. And so she's realizing, oh crap, was that all in my head? Did I kill her? Nobody's gonna believe that I didn't kill her. And so she goes on this like huge uh, process of trying to avoid people. She just wants to, she doesn't want to get in trouble because her tour will be, destroyed, and so will her life. Even her mom mentions that they'll be sued for millions if things don't come out the way that they're supposed to. But she like leaves her room. She goes and fakes to a security guard that she needs some help and she needs a hug, but really she takes his gun and pulls it on everybody. And eventually she goes outside, happens to run into her friend Gemma, which we said, was fake, and says, "Hey, I need you to take me to Staten Island." So they go all the way over there. And that's when she realizes this isn't actually her friend because she calls her friend and she's like, "Hey, didn't you spend the night at my house? Didn't we hang out?" And she's like, "No, haven't done any of these things with you." And she looks back at the person and sees the smile on her face. So she's like in this huge comatose world for the second half of the movie. And the smile creature takes her to an abandoned Pizza Hut, which the
Well,
expert,
she ends up being the driver.
yeah,
Like
she's a
once she
driver.
realizes that Gemma's not really there, then all of a sudden she's driving the vehicle. So she's choosing to go to this Pizza Hut.
Oh, gotcha. I didn't remember that.
Yeah, because that's where I keep wanting to call him the guy from Monk, and I realized he's not even the guy from Monk. I looked it up. He's not. He's from
He's the guy
House.
from House.
But his character name in here is Morris, and he's the guy who was the expert on this, who had this elaborate plan of if we stop your heart for long enough, the virus won't have anybody to live on, so the virus will be just gone. And so we have to put you basically in this walk-in freezer. We have to stop your heart for however, as long as we possibly can, and then I'll resuscitate you, so then you'll be alive again, and the virus will be gone. So you don't actually have to kill anybody, you don't have to kill yourself. And we'll just, everything will be gravy. But she lays on the table and he walks out of the room to get something, and then he never returns again. And it makes you really wonder if his character at all was real ever, because I'm not sure that it was. Um, but she's got some battles with the virus in here of, it's kind of, I think she's seeing herself from the night of the car accident. And so like it's almost like a battle against herself. But it's the smile virus, right? Because it can portray whoever it wants to portray. And so then she tries to stab herself with that needle to like knock her out. I think in the hopes that Morris would come back and like resuscitate her. But the smile virus essentially reveals that she's the one in control and not Sky Riley, so that does nothing. And she basically wakes up on stage, like she's at the first concert of her tour, and we see her mom in the audience. So even though we had that huge thing of her mom killing herself, her thinking she killed her mom, apparently all of that was fake also, or not real, because her mom's alive and in the audience. So none of that actually happened. Um, we essentially get her. This is the end of the movie, right? Is she kills herself in front of the entire audience, in front of everybody. So it's essentially infecting all of them. They all are gonna, at least that's what I'm gathering from it, is that the entire audience is now going to have this virus.
Yeah, so then the question is, where do they go from here, right? Like, how are they going to handle thousands of people that witness this and probably will have the smile virus? Um, One thing that I wanted to point out too is, again, I did not understand that it was a dream at this point. So when the guy left the room, that freezer room at Pizza Hut, I had half wondered if he was trying to see, like, even though he told her, I'm gonna wait the 9 minutes, I'm gonna bring you back, blah blah blah. I had half wondered if he was just trying to kill the demon virus thing itself, where he was just gonna leave her in the freezer, let her
Yeah.
die, and then maybe the thing would be just done. But no, I guess like you said, it turned out to be just a big old dream essentially, and then she woke up. We had like, I don't know, 30 minutes in the beginning of the film that attaches to this last 5 minutes when she's at the concert because everything in between is all a dream. And then we do get a little sequence with the smile monster. I'm pretty sure we had a monster type deal in the first one as well. And so we get to see a little bit more of that here again. I kind of felt like, I mean, even with the first film, I don't really like how it's like a Resident Evil type monster. That's just what it kind of appeared to me. I
Oh yeah, I forgot we did see the monster.
wish it was more of just something that she's seeing, like how everybody has the smile, and it was just something that appears to be in her head, but it's not. Um, there's some other notable scenes in the movie that I thought were interesting. There is a scene where she has to go speak at a charity event, which is the scene behind me, the picture. And they're like, "Don't worry, we know you're kind of going through some things right now. We'll have a teleprompter there for you. All you'll have to do is get on stage, read that teleprompter, and everything will be fine." Well, it's kind of interesting because right before she's supposed to go out on stage, she like wipes something off her face. And I think she kills a bug, and her lipstick like trails off, so she doesn't look 100% what I think she would want to look like on
I
stage.
thought it was the blood of the bug.
Okay, I didn't know which one it was. It could have
I
went either
I
way for me.
I don't know for sure because I didn't see like the actual bug stuck to her or anything, so maybe it was the lipstick, but
Oh, but she gets up on stage. She starts to say her thing, and the teleprompter breaks, like it freezes. And so she kind of, says some things that she makes up. And what it does is it makes her like go into a rabbit hole of just talking about how much she thought this would make like her fame would make her life great, but really it's just terrible. And it boils down to her saying, I'm passing it on to our next guest, and it was the dead boyfriend. And everybody's like, what are you talking about? Like that guy's dead, which is the character behind me. Coincidentally, Jack Nicholson's son. The resemblance is uncanny, in my opinion. Like this dude could be in the Shining film portraying his dad. I definitely would think that could happen. But she does see him in the audience. None of the other people do. But it's kind of it's funny, but it's not. But eventually, the person that is kind of the host of the night goes to, check in on Sky, and
mind
Sky,
you, it's this little old lady.
yeah, she's like in her 80s or something. And what Sky sees is the dead boyfriend approaching her and grabbing onto her. And so she like full on, WWE wrestles the grandma off the stage, and she slams into a table. And I thought that was more hysterical than like, oh my God, what just happened kind of a thing. Just because, like, who slams a Grammy into a table?
It was crazy.
So I think that scene was notable. There was also another one It's actually Sarah's background. You want to talk about that?
So at one point she's in her apartment and she's kind of going she's having a little bit of a temper tantrum. Like she throws something at her shower, so her glass shower breaks. There's broken glass all over her bathroom and stuff. She just wanted to take some pills. I think it was just Tylenol because that's all she mentioned she had access to, unless she stole Vicodin from the drug dealer's house, but I don't think that that's really a thing. She takes some medicine from the floor, and I really was expecting her to like realize that it was glass, like the virus was making her eat glass or something, but nothing happens from that. But as she's trying to leave the bathroom, all of a sudden she sees this like horde of people in her living room coming at her like down the hallway. Because I guess her hallway has all these mirrors on the sides, so it looks like there's significantly more people than there is. But it's like I don't even know if it was anybody recognizable or if it was just a bunch of random fans, but they all have the smile virus and they're all coming after her and they all it's almost like a mob swarming a person. Like they tackle her to the floor and they're like all up in her face and they're shoving their fingers in her mouth and it just was really strange. Do you know what we transitioned to after that?
I don't remember because there were so many scenes that ended in the night in her house, and then the next day we did. So
So maybe she woke up or something, like actually in her bed that time, or maybe she woke up somewhere else. I'm not sure. Maybe she was in her dressing room. We went somewhere after this because this
I feel
wasn't
like
really.
that's the one where they found her on the floor, but I don't remember. Because from when I was listening to other people's interpretation of the film, a lot of people thought that this was kind of that major tipping point, but at the same time, I'm losing track of what happens first because I feel like she had her friend come over before this scene because her friend didn't wake her up on time to go to the thing where she met the the dude that was a little over the top.
I think you're right.
And I think that is what triggered this because she sees his clothing in the house and stuff. And I don't remember, but
Yeah, things kind of blurred with, like I said earlier, a lot of the movie was at a mid level, so it kind of blurs. It wasn't a progression or a build.
yeah, it was a lot of similar things that were happening and we were just experiencing. I mean, did they gradually get worse? Yes. Like, because eventually, a mob of people in your apartment, as opposed to thinking one person's in there, that's, ramping it up a little bit. But yeah, it's hard to discern which happened at what point. So, but yeah, big picture, eventually she hits a point where she goes into a comatose type state, and then she awakens in time to go do her tour, which then she does the whole smile thing and infects thousands of people, and that's kind of where we're left at. I do wish there was a little more lore type stuff in the film. I think the first movie did a lot better job of exploring what actually is this smile thing, and maybe that's why they leaned way more into the celebrity side of things in this one. They maybe they thought they did plenty enough job with it in the first one that this one they could kind of steer the focus away. But I think that's kind of what kept the first movie grounded and made it more interesting. So. I don't know. That's kind of where
Yeah,
I'm at.
I would agree.
Anything else you want to mention about Smile 2?
She had a weird habit of trying to rip her hair out every time uh something crazy was happening, and it like almost brought her to her senses. So in addition to drinking a glass of water, she just kept ripping chunks of hair out to the point where she had a big bald spot in the back. So that was kind of weird.
Yeah, that was kind of a bizarre thing. I mean, I'm sure there's people that do that um, as a reaction to things. I clearly cannot because I can't even grip my hair. But yeah, it was pretty interesting, even to the point where the mom knew that that was a much of a problem. Well, again, it was the smile creature, but they were saying that they could basically put fake hair on her for the performances and stuff, so people wouldn't notice. Um, which makes me wonder how many other celebrities have some fake hair on stage. Is that really a big thing or not? But that was our talk about Smile 2. I gave it a 5. Sarah gave it a 4, correct?
Yep.
So kind of middle of the road film. I do think it is a downgrade from the first one, but I'm based on the way that audiences and critics are responding, I think this movie will do super well. So I do think we will probably see a Smile 3. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens, especially with the way that this movie ended, with the tons of people potentially being infected. How are they going to handle that? Hopefully they have a plan and it's not just like, wouldn't it be cool? And then they're like, oh God, how do we handle this kind of a thing? I hope that doesn't happen. But if you enjoyed this type of video, make sure to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. We will be covering Venom next week, and I do think it's Heretic is the name of the film, the next horror movie.
Heretic.
Heretic are the next horror film on our slate, so I'm looking forward to that as well. Drops a like if you liked the video and drops a comment letting us know your thoughts on Smile 2. Did you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? And if there's something you thought was interesting from the movie and you want to throw it in the comments, let us know. And then, as always, everybody, thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.